everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. So for the month of January, I didn't read as many books as I usually do, but I'm actually getting out of my reading slump and I end up managing to finish 6 books, which I'm really excited about, and I liked majority of them, which is great. And now I'm going to go through all of the stats before I go into my thoughts on all the books. So like I said, I read 6 books and that is a total of 1,783 pages. I read 5 physical books and 1 ebook. I read 5 of my own books and then 1 library book that I got from Libby. And then I read 4 adult books, 2 YA books. I read 3 historical fiction, 1 literary fiction, 1 romance, and then 1 paranormal romance. And then my star ratings are 3 5 stars, 1 4.5 star, 1 3.5 star, and then 1 2.5 star. So I'm going to go through all of the books that I read, and I want to go in my least favorite into my favorite. So first I'm going to be talking about my least favorite of the month, and that book is Layla by Colleen Hoover. This one I gave 2.5 stars to, and this was our buddy read that I do with Nicole at the Girly Girl Bookworm, and we have a monthly chat where we talk about a book that we choose, and this is the book that we chose. And this book is about Layla and Leeds. They meet at this wedding, which is Layla's sister's wedding, and they're at like this bed and breakfast, and they immediately have an attraction for each other, and they basically rush into this relationship. And then when they go back to like where Leeds lives, there's like a tragic accident that happens, and Layla goes through a lot of emotional and physical recovery through this accident that she had. So Leeds has an idea to go back to the bed and breakfast that they first met, and hopefully that will help them get back on track with their relationship and on with their lives. And then when they get to this bed and breakfast, a lot of bizarre things start happening, and this is where Leeds meets Willow, and then he starts questioning everything. So this is a paranormal romance. I did not know anything about this book when I first went into it, so I was going on pretty blind, and I didn't like it at all. I usually love Colleen Hoover's contemporary romance books, and I was super excited to read something that was outside of her genre, but I just did not mesh well with this book at all. I did not like Layla and Leeds' relationship. I thought it was way too instant love, and the paranormal aspect of this book I absolutely hated. I felt like it was super unrealistic, which could be my fault because I watch a lot of paranormal like TV shows and like videos on YouTube and stuff, so that could be partly my fault, but I just did not like this one at all. I hated the ending with a passion, and yeah, I know I'm an unpopular opinion on this one, and that's okay, but yeah, I just did not like this one at all. I'm really excited to read more from Colleen like in the future, but I really just like her contemporary romance. I haven't read Verity yet, so I'm gonna give that one a try. If I like that one, then I'll continue to read her other books, but if I don't like that one, then I'm just not gonna read anything other than her romance books. So this was a letdown for me. The next book that I want to talk about is Outwalled by Anna North. I gave this book 3.5 stars, and I did a buddy read with this one with Lee Ellen on Instagram. She has monthly book chats with different books that she does, and this was one of them, and I joined for this month. I actually joined 2 other books as well, so I did a total of 3 books with her this month, and this was one of them. And this was a historical fiction set in the late 1800s, and you're following this girl named Ada, and she is newly married, and she works with her mother as a midwife, and after about a year of her marriage she cannot become pregnant, and Ada is forced out of her hometown because they think that she has something to do with witchcraft since she cannot become pregnant, which this is a common thing, that if you cannot become pregnant, they automatically think that you are a witch. So she ends up joining this coven for a while, and then she moves on to join the Hole in the Wall gang, which is a female gang of women that were also accused of witchcraft, or for other reasons for them to have to flee their hometown. And this gang gets by doing different robberies. So Ada is trying to figure out if this is what she wants to do, or if she wants to go on and do something else with her life. So this book I found very fascinating at the very beginning. I loved all of the talk about midwifery. I found that so fascinating, and also how they thought they were witches if the woman couldn't become pregnant. I found that so crazy. And I also loved when she first joined the gang, and all of the different dynamics of the different women in that gang. What I didn't really care for in this book is that I really wanted more from this book. I felt like when you actually got to the different robbery scenes and things, it was very quick, and I just wanted more in-depth detail of each of those scenes. And also I think I really wanted more point of views from the other females in the gang, and I just felt like it would made the book more fleshed out. So this one, it was fine. It was interesting read. I've never read anything like a Western before, so I found that very interesting. Will I read another Western? I don't know, but this one was an okay book, and yeah, it was just okay. The next book that I want to talk about is In Sight of the Mountain by Jamie McGillan, and this is the first book in the Rainier series, and this is actually a YA historical fiction. This one is set in Seattle after the Great Fire in the late 1800s, and you're following this girl named Anna, and she is not your typical late 1800s type of girl. She wants to be adventurous, and she wants to climb Mount Rainier, be one of the first women to ever do that. Most women in this time are looking to be married and, become housewives and do household chores and things of that nature. So that is really not what she wants to do. She is a very adventurous type of girl. So I really like this book. Oh, I didn't say I gave this book 4.5 stars. I really, really liked it. Read this one really quickly. It's a really fast read considering it's like a YA book. But the girl that you're following is 19, so she's not like YA age, but the story is easier to follow, I guess you could say. But I really love this one. I've never read anything really based with anything around Mount Rainier, so I found that very fascinating, and the friendships in this book were so good. She is friends with this Native American girl named Heather, and I think why I knocked it down like 0.5 rating is because I really wanted more from Heather, but this is a series, and I believe hopefully the author writes more about Heather in the future, so I'm really excited about that. But anyways, this book was so good, and there's this romance in it that is so cute and so genuine. I absolutely loved it. So if you are interested in reading a book about a woman that wants to be a mountaineer, I highly recommend picking this one up. Not to mention that these covers are so pretty. And then the next one that I want to talk about is the sequel of that one, which is In Light of the Summit. And this one is just a continuation of Anna's story, and then you're also following one of her friends named Emily, and it's just another really great mountaineering book. I love this. This one I ended up giving 5 stars to. Absolutely love this one. And again, the romances in these books are just so good. So I highly recommend picking these books up. The next book that I want to talk about is That Second Chance by Megan Quinn. This book I gave 5 stars to, and this book is about Griffin and his brothers. They go to New Orleans to celebrate his brother's 21st birthday, and then they run into this psychic, and she basically tells them that their love lives are doomed. Well, after a few days, something very tragic happens to his wife, and she passes away. And since then, Griffin has steered clear of any romantic relationships. And then about a year later, Wren comes into the same small town. This is a small town romance, by the way. Goes into their small town, and she's basically wants to start a new life. And as soon as she gets there, she gets into an accident, and Griffin is actually one of the firefighters that helps rescue her. And she instantly has this like attraction to him. Well, little does she know that she's actually going to be living a couple houses down from him, and she becomes more and more infatuated with him. And little does she know that he also has mutual feelings for her, but he doesn't want to get into a relationship because he doesn't want anything tragic to happen to her because of what the psychic told him. So it is their relationship, and it's a small town romance, and it's so good. I love their relationship so much. They had amazing chemistry, and this one was also a slow burn as well, so I really love that because you're really getting to know the characters more and more and watching their relationship grow. And I also love this one because Griffin has brothers and a sister, and I just love their family dynamics. This is a series. This is the Getting Lucky, I believe, series, and the other books are you're following the other brothers, and I think potentially the sister as well. Not 100% sure, but I'm really excited to continue in the series and follow the other family members from Griffin. But this book was so good. If you love slow burn, small town romances, I highly recommend picking this one up. The last book that I want to talk about, which is my favorite book of the month, is The Removed by Brandon Hobson. I gave this one obviously 5 stars, and I did a buddy read with Lee Ellen on her monthly book chats on Instagram. And at the beginning of this book, you find out that Ray gets shot tragically by a police officer, and every year since then his family has an annual bonfire, and you're following Ray's mom, his sister, and his brother. His mother is trying to keep their family together, and also their father, or her husband, is also suffering from Alzheimer's. And then you're also following the sister, which is Sanja, and she basically lives by herself, and she is obsessed with a younger man. And then you're also following the other brother, and he is into drugs. So you're basically following this family, and you're learning about how they're going through their grief and how to move on from their brother or son being in that tragic shooting with the police officer. So this follows a Cherokee folklore and myths as well, because you're following a Cherokee family. And this book was absolutely fantastic. I literally, as soon as I finished reading this book, I immediately bought other Native American books because I am just so fascinated with their culture, and I'm super excited to read more. But this book, so good. And there's also a magical realism element in this book, which I absolutely loved. I loved how thought-provoking this book was. So when we did our buddy read, this was a great book to discuss because there were so many different elements that we could talk about. I loved how this book had multiple point of views. You really got to get in and understand what each of the characters were going through, and it was just so good. I cannot recommend this book enough. And if you are interested in Native American culture and you love literary fiction and magical realism, I highly recommend picking this one up. So those are all the books that I read in January. Let me know in the comments if you read any of those books and what you thought about them. And also let me know what you read in January. And until then, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!